Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is week number 25 of our championship score predictions, guys. But with this video we've got a bit of an extra thing to add on to the end of it, guys, since this week is actually the week where the FA Cup 5th round is also taking place. So in this video today, guys, we're going to be making all our predictions for the championship games taking place this weekend, and as well as that we're also going to be predicting the FA Cup games which have a championship club involved in them. So I'm looking forward to this week. So if you've not seen this series before, guys, let me briefly explain what it's all about. So every week I give you guys my championship score predictions for how I think the results will be with all the games going on in the championship. FIFA 17 also makes their predictions, but what I'm really interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below I'll leave all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend in both the championship and the FA Cup, and I want you guys to go ahead and make your predictions. And then if you do get any of your score predictions right, I will include your comment at the start of the next video. And speaking of that, guys, I will include your comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to predict any of the midweek scorelines, I'll put your comments on screen now. So honestly, fair play to anyone who got a midweek scoreline right, because there are a lot of twists and turns in midweek in my opinion, and it was probably one of the hardest ones to predict actually. I know there was a lot of people that left comments, but there wasn't actually too many people that got one right in the end. I think in midweek I believe I got one prediction right. That was the Preston against Birmingham game, which I said would finish 2-1 to PNE, and in the end it finished just that. So I was quite happy with predicting that scoreline, but like I said, fair play to anyone that got one right. But enough of me rambling on, we'll just get into the fixtures. So our first game we have to talk about, guys, we have Barnsley, who are coming up against Brighton, and this is actually a really interesting encounter because two sides going into each other, which I think this will actually be quite a nice game to watch actually. I think both teams will have something to offer towards the other one, and you know, Barnsley coming into this game on very good form, of course, coming off the back of that victory they got away to Aston Villa. They're definitely not going to make it easy for this Brighton side. I think that Brighton really are in need of a win now. Of course, they dropped points last time out, and you just feel like to keep up with Newcastle and to avoid slipping into third place, which I know a lot of people are actually predicting Brighton to do from my previous video, guys, but I think Barnsley will make it difficult for Brighton, but I am just going to back Brighton, and I'll back Brighton for a 1-0 victory. I think this could be quite a tight and cagey affair perhaps, but FIFA's actually backing the opposite scoreline to me. FIFA's saying Barnsley are going to win this one 1-0. And then into our next game, guys, we have Birmingham, who are coming up against QPR. So once again, 3 points for either of these sides would do them the world of good, and it's actually quite a difficult one to actually predict because both these sides are coming into this game not really on the best of form. I think they're both on a bit of a losing streak at this point in time. Of course, there's always been well precedented about how Zola's done so far at Birmingham, but Ian Holloway recently hasn't been having the best of times at QPR. So for this one, I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 1-1 draw. I really can't separate these two sides at this point in time, whereas FIFA is going to say that Birmingham are just about going to come away with a 1-0 victory. And then coming up next, guys, we have Burton Albion, who are coming up against Norwich City, and this is actually a really interesting encounter for both the top and bottom of the table, and honestly 3 points would do either of these sides the absolute world of good. And I do think that a draw will probably be, maybe in Burton's aspect it wouldn't be a bad result, but I don't think a draw will be a great result for either of these sides. I think both of them are in desperate need of 3 points, of course, with Norwich chasing the playoffs and Burton looking to avoid relegation, and it's a difficult one to predict, but I think with how well Norwich have been playing lately, I'd be surprised if they didn't get past this Burton side one way or another. So it's a difficult one, but I am going to go ahead and back a 2-1 victory to Norwich. I think Burton could make it difficult for them, but I just see Norwich's quality coming through in this game, whereas FIFA is backing an absolutely mental scoreline. FIFA's saying this one is going to end 3-0 to Burton. And then into our next game, guys, we have Cardiff City, who are coming up against Rotherham United. So once again, this is quite a tricky one to predict. I mean, Rotherham have been a bit of an unpredictable side, I think it's fair to say. I mean, of course, they've lost more games than they've won this season, but a couple of times they put in some spirited performances lately, which they've not really been getting the results for them. But they're coming up against the Cardiff City side, who looks to have found form in just the right point of the season. You know, Neil Warnock's managed to guide this Cardiff side to a comfortable mid-table spot, and with some of the results which have been going Cardiff's way lately, I'm going to go ahead and back the same trend for this one, really. I'm going to go ahead and back a 2-0 victory for Cardiff. I just see them being too strong for this Rotherham side, especially with Rotherham being away from home as well, whereas FIFA's saying this one's going to be a goalless draw. And then into our our next game, guys, we have Ipswich Town, who are coming up against Leeds United. And honestly, it's got to be said, Ipswich have been fantastic lately. I don't know where this form's come from, really, with Ipswich. I mean, what we've associated Ipswich for the majority of the season has really been their inconsistency. But lately, they've been actually very consistent in grinding out performances and results. And I think they will be able to give this Leeds United side a very good run for their money, especially as Ipswich are at home. However, something that will definitely hinder this Ipswich side is that Tom Lawrence is actually suspended for this game, and honestly, I think that will be a massive blow to Ipswich. He's been pivotal with Ipswich so far this season, with everything with them going forward, scoring goals, getting assists, creating chances, everything like that. He has just been pivotal. So for that reason, I am going to back Leeds United for the victory, despite how good Ipswich have looked lately. But Leeds, once again, Leeds really are in need of a win. You know, they want to keep up with the chasing pack at the top of the table. So I'm going to go ahead and back a 2-1 victory for Leeds United. Then into our next game, guys, we have Nottingham Forest, who are coming up against Sheffield Wednesday. So once again, this is quite similar to the Burton Albion against Norwich City match. 3 points for either of these sides would be massive for either of them, really, for different reasons, of course. And for this one, I am actually fancying quite a few goals to be scored in this one. I mean, with Sheffield Wednesday's attacking prowess they've got going forward now, with players like Sam Winnall and Jordan Rhodes already added to their attacking quality, I think Sheffield Wednesday will get a couple of goals in this game, especially coming up against this Nottingham Forest defence, which has just been as leaky as anything so far this season. I think it's fair to say. However, I do actually fancy Forest to get a couple of goals as well. I think that their attacking line going forward isn't actually looking too bad. I think it's just their defence which really does let them down, and there has been a big reason for them being so inconsistent so far this season. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and back a 3-2 victory for Sheffield Wednesday. I think this could be one of the games of the weekend in terms of goals being scored, but now I've said that, it's probably going to end up being a 0-0 draw or something like that. But like I said, I'm going to back a 3-2 victory for Sheffield Wednesday, whereas FIFA's backing a 2-1 victory for Wednesday. And then to the next game, guys, we have Wigan Athletic, who are coming up against my club, Preston North End. And this is what I'm really looking forward to going to. Actually, I think Preston are bringing in something like 4,700 fans, something like that. So it should be a really good atmosphere in Wigan. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to this match in general. But in terms of how I think the match will pan out as itself, really, I think this one could be a bit of a cagey affair, really. I think Wigan are in need of 3 points more than Preston are for this one. But it's a difficult one to actually call. Wigan haven't been looking too bad recently under Warren Joyce. I mean, Omar Bogle coming into the side has definitely added a new dynamic to their side, and so I see this one being quite a tight one, actually. I don't think Preston will walk Wigan, and I don't think Wigan will walk Preston or anything like that. So I'm going to back my side, but I'm going to back us for a 1-0 victory. I see this one being quite a close game, actually, and I think something like a set piece or something like that could easily win it for either side in this game. But I'm going to back a 1-0 win to Preston, whereas FIFA is backing a 0-0 draw. And into our last game being played in the Championship, guys, we have the game taking place on Monday night between Newcastle United and Aston Villa. And realistically, if this game was taking place probably 2 months ago or something like that, I'd say that Aston Villa had a very good chance in making Newcastle really work for this result and possibly pulling off an upset. But with the way Aston Villa have been playing recently, I just can't really see anything past a Newcastle victory in this one. I'd be quite surprised if Villa were able to pull out a shock for this one, considering the level of their performances have seemed to drop so drastically in 2017. I'd be very surprised if they did get something from this game. So I'm going to go ahead and back a 3-1 victory for Newcastle. I just see them being too strong for how Villa are currently playing at this point in time, whereas FIFA is going to go ahead and back a 1-0 victory for Newcastle. So there are all the Championship games, guys, taking place this weekend, but now we move on to the FA Cup fixtures, guys. So we have 4 games taking place in the FA Cup featuring Championship sides to talk over, and honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these pan out. So the first of all, we have Huddersfield, who are coming up against Manchester City, and I actually think this one could be a really interesting encounter. I mean, Huddersfield so far this season, especially at home, they've been sparkling at times this season. We've already seen them pull off a couple of upsets in the league so far this season, so I'm not going to put it past them I don't think City will smash them or anything like that. And you know what, I'm actually feeling Huddersfield to get something from this match. I don't think they'll win it, but I'm going to go ahead and back a 1-1 draw for this one. I fancy Huddersfield to go ahead and get a replay in this one, and I think that would be a fantastic result for Huddersfield. Then next up, guys, we have Wolves, who are coming up against Chelsea. So of course, we've already seen Wolves pull off an upset this year in the FA Cup, as they were able to dismantle Liverpool at Anfield and go ahead and get into the next round that way. But coming up against this Chelsea side, I just think with Chelsea being so far clear at the top of the table, I think Conte will be using this as quite a focus, really, the FA Cup. I think he'd like to win it as Chelsea manager in his first season. Coming up against this Wolves side, I think Wolves could make it difficult for them, but honestly, I've got to back Chelsea for this one. I'm going to go ahead and back a 3-1 victory for Chelsea. And then we have Fulham, who are coming up against Spurs. So we have a London derby taking place in this one. This could actually be a bit of a fiery encounter, actually, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this game pans out, because I think there's goals in this game for both sides. I think both sides will get quite a few goals in this game, and I'm actually going to back Fulham to get a replay from this one. I'm going to say that this one is going to end as a 2-2 draw. I think for this game, I'm expecting Spurs to make quite a few changes. I mean, they won't be as fresh as Fulham will be, since Spurs did play on Thursday night in the Europa League, and they actually lost that game as well. So they're probably not going to be coming into this game with the best momentum or mindset or anything like that. So for that reason, I'm going to back Fulham to get a draw from this one. I'll say 2-2. And then for our next fixture, guys, and our last fixture of this video, we have Blackburn Rovers, who are coming up against Manchester United. So, of course, this one taking place at Blackburn. It'll be a fantastic occasion for them. And honestly, if Blackburn are able to pull off an upset and beat Manchester United, I don't know what I'd do. It'll be absolutely insane. But can I see it happening? Honestly, no, I just can't see it happening. We've already seen in the FA Cup so far this season, Manchester United have comfortably disposed of two championship sides in both Wigan Athletic and Reading, and honestly, I just see this being more of the same, really. So I'm going to go ahead and back a 3-0 victory for Man United. I just think they'll be too strong for Blackburn. So there you have it, guys. There, we'll wrap it up for this video, guys. So there are my week 25 score predictions for both the Championship and the FA Cup as well, guys. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you get your comments in the comments down below. I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say about all the fixtures coming up this weekend, guys. And yeah, like I said, that will wrap it up. Make sure you do drop a subscribe as well if you are new around here and you would like to stay tuned for regular Championship content. Make sure you drop me a follow on Twitter, as I always tweet before I upload a video. Therefore, you'll never miss a video ever again, guys. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.